Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's talk about a 15-year-old who turned a frustrating situation with a grumpy customer on their paper route into a small victory. You want your magazine? Fine, I'll deliver it right to your hand. Recently, I, 15-year-old female, started getting complaints on a paper route I work. I work a paper route for extra income since I'm not 16 yet and legally in the UK cannot get a proper job. I've had it for 2 years. Lately, though, about 2 months or so, I got a new house on the route and they've been nothing but a pain. Not only is it out the way of my route, so pretty much a hassle to get to, they have to be very rude too. Lately, my boss has been forgetting to put magazines into the papers and they've constantly been complaining, resulting in me getting reprimanded. That in itself isn't bad, but they've yelled at me for not closing their gate properly, getting too close to their Ring doorbell, and waving at their child from the window in the morning. All small things that led to this situation. 5 weeks ago, however, they were still complaining about getting no magazine despite me making sure before I delivered that it went through and I was getting tired. The next time I delivered their papers, I knocked. Bear in mind, I have to get these papers delivered quickly, so it was 6 a.m. at this point. However, I knocked and knocked until the wife of the grumpy guy opened the door, half asleep and looking agitated. She coughed slightly, and in a typical Karen voice, she goes, "What the hell do you want?" I looked at her with fake stun as if I don't know what I'm doing and tell her, "I'm just delivering the magazine like you asked." At this moment, she knew she couldn't complain because 1, her Ring doorbell caught it all, and 2, I had physically handed it to her this time, undeniable proof. For the next upcoming weeks, I knocked until they answered the door, making sure to knock extra loud. This morning, however, the husband answered the door and he looked defeated. He flat out looked at me and apologized, in his words at least. "We get it. We're sorry about the complaints. Please stop knocking so early and just get the paper through the door." After that long round, nothing felt more satisfactory than the sweet taste of this revenge. I may be underpaid, but it was all worth it to see that phase. You learned a valuable lesson that some adults never do. Manners cost nothing, and the poetic justice of giving someone exactly what they want can be so much better than getting yourself worked up. This will be a story you tell for decades to come. And our second story. Karen thought she had a foolproof plan for a free vacation. I'll always remember this wannabe scam artist. I was working corporate guest relations and I received a very long email from a guest about their stay at our resort property in Mexico. This was a very nice, all-inclusive beachfront resort. She put a lot of effort into the email, which was basically a day-by-day diary of her 8-night stay, listing every possible complaint someone could come up with, along with a huge collection of pictures as evidence. It was several pages long, and it looked something like this. Day 1, the shuttle driver was rude. We had to wait 30 minutes to check in. The view is horrible. We can't see the ocean. The sheets were dirty. Picture attached. The AC is so loud I can't sleep. There's a crack in the sidewalk outside our room. Picture attached. My dinner was cold and there wasn't any salt or pepper on the table. The shower has no water pressure. Day 2. We had breakfast at blank and they were out of pancakes. My daughter's favorite cereal, blank, wasn't available. There were loud children playing in the pool all day. There's a light out on the pathway. I called the front desk to ask for more towels and no one answered. I think housekeeping took money out of my purse. The chairs in the lobby are uncomfortable. One of the electrical plugs in my room doesn't work. Imagine a list with 100 more things from her 8-night stay. Every department from FD, housekeeping, maintenance, etc. Now, some of the complaints seemed plausible. But really, who spends their entire vacation making a log of everything they think is wrong with the resort? Especially a hotel we get very little complaints about. So I contacted the FOM to discuss the guest, assuming the FD system, which I cannot access, would have all the logs from this woman's complaints, the hotel logs, everything. But there was nothing there. In fact, the entire time she was at the hotel, she never voiced any complaints. She merely logged them in her little complaint diary and went about her business. Many of her issues were extremely petty. For example, the crack in the sidewalk was about 3 inches long and was flat on both sides. It wasn't a tripping hazard, just a small crack. The light out in the path, even in the picture, I could see that the area was still very well lit because they have lights everywhere in that area. Her room didn't have an ocean view because she booked a courtyard view. The picture of dirty sheets showed one tiny little black spot in the corner, like if you tapped the sheet with the tip of a pen or a fine marker. It took 30 minutes to check in because she showed up 3 hours early and they had to get her room ready. The shower in her room was fine and the AC unit was not loud at all. We looked into everything, talked to all the department heads, and had the room she stayed in fully inspected. While the list made it seem like she had a horrible stay, there really wasn't any substance behind her complaints. So since this all seemed a bit fishy to everyone, I called the guest and spoke with her about her complaints. I told her that I'd been in contact with the hotel and we couldn't find any record of her complaints, and I inquired who at the hotel she'd spoken to while she was there, and she admitted no one. I gave her my apologies and suggested that next time she should express her complaints while on property so they can be immediately addressed. For example, housekeeping would have been happy to change out the dirty sheets, etc., etc. Keep in mind, she was there for 8 nights at an all-inclusive property with 7 different restaurants, 4 bars, multiple pools, etc. She probably never left the hotel, but never said a word about all the problems she was having. Note, 100% of the employees speak English. It's a requirement because this is an American hotel chain. So in the name of customer service, I tell her that we'd like an opportunity to make this right and offered her 3 free nights to come back in the future. Nope, that's not good enough. She wants a full refund, $6,500 and nothing less. I told her that I would discuss and get back to her. The next day, I informed her that the hotel would not offer a refund, but they were willing to add in another night, so now that's 4 free nights. Nope, unacceptable. She continues to demand a full refund. We went back and forth. She wanted my manager, who then told her the same thing. The guest hung up on my boss after things got a bit heated. A few days later, she calls up again and wants to know the status of her refund. How do you give someone a status on something that's never going to happen? She says she's going to contact corporate. I roll my eyes and explain to her again that I am the corporate guest relations coordinator. I am corporate. I spent forever on the phone talking with this woman who just refused to accept the free nights and was hell-bent on getting her money back. She just kept going back to her list. Well, what about blank? What are you going to do about blank? I wouldn't budge. It's 4 free future nights or nothing, lady. Then the unimaginable happened. In all my years of customer service, I have never, ever had a scammer resort to telling the truth. When she finally realized she wasn't getting a refund, she cried, "I can't afford to pay for this. I don't have the money. I don't know what to do. You have to help me." I was like, "You can't afford to pay? Weren't you planning on paying for your stay when you made the reservation? It's not like we're charging you more than you agreed to, and we're still offering you free nights for your next visit." She responded, completely broken and weeping, "I didn't think I would have to pay. I thought I would get my money back. I don't know what I'm going to do. Please, you have to help me. I can't pay for this. I've got kids. Please, you've got to do something to help me out. I need you to give me a refund. I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't get that money back. I can't pay for this." Did this woman just admit she planned all this thinking she was just going to complain her way into a $6,500 refund? Yes. Yes, she did just say that. Me. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do." Guest, who now sounds like she's having a panic attack, "I've got to get that money back. I've got to do something. You've got to help me out here. I don't know what else to do. I don't have the money. I can't pay for this." Me. "Ma'am, you should have thought about that before you went on a vacation you couldn't afford." Yeah, I shouldn't have said this, but I was just done with this woman. She had wasted enough of my time already, not to mention all the people at the hotel who looked into her entire list of bullcrap. She cried some more, then she resorted to screaming, so I hung up on her. Everything was noted, all my calls are recorded, so I went ahead and attached that file. She did send some hate mail to our corporate offices, but due to the fact that I had a recording of her admitting she was trying to scam us, they ignored her letters. Oh, and her frequent guest membership was flagged as being banned from all properties. We didn't send her the free night certificates either. Hell yeah, sweet justice. Who takes a vacation they can't afford to the tune of $6.5K? WTF. And our last story. They're suing me for trespassing in my own pool. Good luck, Karen. Now it's my turn to share a story about the HOA that ended much better than they expected. My family and I have owned a country house for many years, which used to be in a truly rural area. Peace, nature, and most importantly, tranquility. But times change, and over the last couple of years, new houses started springing up around us, and the rural area gradually turned into a suburb. On my land was the only pool in the area, which I had built specifically for my children so they could have fun during the summer. One day I was returning home from work, and what do I see? About 50 people on my property throwing a party with music, drinks, and food. It looked like a poorly organized festival. I was shocked. Who were all these people, and why were they on my land? I walked closer and saw that they were all using my pool. It turned out to be a party organized by the local HOA, which I didn't even know existed. I'd never joined this association. Furious, I approached the head of this HOA, a chubby guy with an air of self-importance, lounging in a deck chair by my pool with a glass of champagne. "Hey, what's going on here?" I asked, trying to keep my cool. He looked at me with a smug grin. "Well, this is HOA property, and we decided to throw a party here for all the community members. You should be grateful we invited you." At first, I couldn't believe my ears. "What do you mean your property? This is my house and my land. You have no right to be here." But this arrogant guy just laughed and said, "Oh well, according to the HOA documents, this plot belongs to us, not you. You should have been aware of that." Without waiting for further explanations, I called the police. The officers arrived fairly quickly, and I briefly explained the situation to them. One of the policemen, a friendly guy with a mustache who clearly understood my frustration, asked the HOA head, "Are you seriously claiming that this land belongs to the HOA?" He confidently nodded and even pulled out some documents. The policeman skimmed through them, then handed them back to the head and said, "These documents mean nothing. They only contain general provisions regarding the HOA, not specifically this plot. Now everyone, pack up and leave, or we'll start issuing fines." The people, clearly not expecting this turn of events, began hastily gathering their things and leaving the property. The HOA head was furious, but there was nothing he could do. The police insisted that everyone leave, including him. I was sure that'd be the end of it, but this stubborn guy didn't give up. A couple of weeks later, I received a court summons. This audacious guy filed a lawsuit against me demanding that my plot be recognized as public property belonging to the HOA. He claimed that the land had belonged to the association even before I bought it. It was absurd, but I had to go to court. In court, his arguments looked even more ridiculous than in reality. The judge listened to him attentively and then asked him to present the documents, and as soon as the judge saw the papers, he immediately interrupted the HOA head. "Sorry, but there's nothing in these documents to support your claims. On the contrary, they clearly state that the plot has always been privately owned and was never part of the HOA." The HOA head started mumbling something incoherent, but the judge was no longer listening. The case was immediately dismissed, and this guy turned red with anger and embarrassment. You won't believe it, but this incident was the final straw. Soon after, he was removed from his position as the head of the HOA, and I received an official apology from the new administration. They even offered to compensate me for moral damages, but I declined. The important thing was that justice prevailed, and now no one dares to encroach on my home and my land. Moral of the story, don't let pushy bureaucrats boss you around. Sometimes you just need to stand your ground, and everything will turn out fine. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.